John and Tatiana. You're both very kind. It's good to have you up here. I also want to do a huge shout out to the guy who's always behind the camera, behind the scenes, Mike Laws. Everybody, Mike Laws. You can make any photo of me look decent. And I know how he does it too. And also, I just want to thank Dr. Kathy Greenberg, a friend of mine who is here from Philadelphia. Kathy, thank you for coming up. So, this is round 2. And there's a little bit of dispute with this, but Rocky lost his first fight. And he went the distance, and we went the distance in 2012. And Rocky got beat up and bloodied, and as you can tell, I did not. We came out stronger in 2012 in that election than when we started. We came out with a very, very powerful message. And I heard this throughout the district from all different people that are involved in politics and people that aren't. The 2 things I heard was, you got really close. And the second thing was, you didn't spend any money. And to me, that adds up to our issues connected with the voters. In Lehigh County, we got 47.5% of the vote that hadn't been even closely done by anybody except going all the way back to Ed O'Brien in his first campaign. Nobody who raised $1 million or $2 million got out of the 40% mark in Lehigh County, and that was the only part of the district that stayed intact. In Republican land that they added, Berks, Dauphin, and Lebanon, and any of the Democrats that were down there, most of them got cut out. We beat President Obama in 2012. And again, I think it's the message. I think it's that strength. There was a final article that Sober Spencer put together post-campaign, and it was on the vote count, and it was on how much money was spent. And what we found out? So, in 2010, John Callahan spent an average of $25 per vote. When I ran against Charlie Dent in 2012, Charlie spent over $10 per vote. We got close. It was a close election. And this is what we spent per vote. You take one of these. You take one of these. And you take 3 of these. We spent 18 cents a vote. I'm not proud that we didn't raise a lot of money, and Celeste is going to hopefully have that not happen again. Because we do need to get our message out. But we're coming at it in 2016 with higher name recognition, with strength that we built in 2012, and with, I think, a more powerful message, because today the issues we talked about in 2012 are worse. In every way you look at it. Career politicians. The one issue, there's 2 things about raising money in politics. The one that we know about that's put out there quite a bit is that if you're going to give me a whole lot of money, I'm going to probably listen to you more than somebody else, and you're going to be able to sway me. And that's legitimate. It's not always true. Danny McNeil is the one person I think who stands out against that, and I'm very proud of Danny in Harrisburg, because I know he stands for our values, and nobody's going to flip his vote with anything, especially money. But there's another really dirty secret in Washington that isn't talked about much, and this is on both sides of the aisle. To raise the $1 million, $2 million, $2.5 million, in some districts, $4 or $5 million every 2 years takes a congressman about 40 to 60% of their time in Congress. You're a legislator. Your job is to read boring legislation, study issues, and figure out which way you're going to vote so that it's best for your constituents. If you're on the phone begging for cash for you to keep your job half the time, then what's going to suffer is your ability to know what you're voting on. They don't know what they're voting on. In 2014, Charlie Dent, my opponent, spent over $1 million to get reelected. And he didn't have anybody running against him. That's an interesting accomplishment because it's not easy to spend $1 million when you don't have an opponent, but somehow he was able to do it. So when he had the opportunity to get off the phone, to stop begging for money, and to focus on legislation, he didn't do it. He kept begging for money and then spent it on who knows what. He did win that election, by the way. So it's still a David and Goliath matchup, but only in terms of money, and I think that's becoming more and more insignificant. And there's a lot of examples out there that show that to be the case. So the issues. As all of you would imagine, because of where I work, fighting for senior citizens is one of my priorities. Social Security is fine. Glad to know that Social Security is a democratic program. We set it up to work well. There's an adjustment that needs to be made at this point, and that would be to increase the wage cap. It's about $115,000 to about $180,000. We'll capture 90% of the wages at that point, and Social Security is solvent for the next 25 years. So that problem is solved. Very easy. We should have a separate cost of living adjustment for senior citizens. You know, the fact that gas went down didn't help them that much, except for maybe home heating oil, but they don't drive much. Medications go up, that's a big deal. Senior citizens should have gotten a cost of living increase last year because their cost of living went up, and they didn't. That's another change. Medicare, again, very proud Democratic program, works well. We simply need to continue to focus on improving health outcomes. You can't get a voucher program for Medicare. So you're 75 years old, you've had a heart attack, you might have cancer, that hip's going to go, the knee's about to be replaced. Hey, here's a piece of paper. Go out and play with the private marketplace and see if you can get health insurance. Come on. Medicare should stay the way it is. Student debt is a growing issue.
Yes, student debt.
And you don't even have to be a young person anymore because it can take decades to pay off student debt. We need to allow graduates to repay student loans with pre-tax dollars. We need to increase the tax deduction to $5,000 with no income limit. What about allowing students to refinance their debt when there's lower rates? Doesn't that make sense? Thank you for the applause, because I was getting nervous with all the applause John was getting. I was about to vote for him. And then very simply, we have to make college more affordable. But the issue that divides Charlie Dent and myself is extremely significant. It affects jobs, the environment, global warming, national security, human rights, Social Security, Medicare, the national debt, and probably a few more. And he's on one side very comfortably, and I'm on the other. And I look forward to the next 7 months when we can debate this. And the people in the 15th Congressional District, the Republican-performing 15th Congressional District, the majority of those voters agree with me, they agree with us. That issue is free trade. Mike Baker's here today with the Lehigh Valley Labor Council. And in a few weeks, we'll be at a memorial service together, recognizing the workers in the Lehigh Valley that have been killed on the job. And Mike, I think we go back about 100 years.
We had quite a few people out this year about a lot of accidents that we not pull up. So we're going to have quite a lot.
And that gets us close to almost 1,000 names, I bet. So we're just over 1,000 names, and that's going back over 100 years. And this was an industrial hub. This was a dangerous place to work with the steel, with cement plants. It was pretty bad. 100 years, just over 1,000 people have been killed in the Lehigh Valley. In 2013, 1,300 people died in one accident, in one factory in Bangladesh. And that is free trade. And that is why we have free trade. Now that made world headlines. And a lot of people came together, and it was pretty clear that even in Bangladesh, something like that cannot happen again. That's too horrific to let go. And so there were commissions that were set up, there was money that went into Bangladesh, and that situation was going to be fixed so that the clothing we're wearing today, we can feel comfortable that finally the factories in Bangladesh and other places of the third world will be safer for workers. And we can all be thankful for that. And that was a lie. There was an article in the Atlantic Monthly about a month ago. Basically, nothing's been done. Of the 3,000 some factories in Bangladesh, there are 8 that have passed what is a very simplistic safety check for the factories. That is free trade. Let's get a little closer to home and let's go back another 20 years and we look at NAFTA. And again, NAFTA was going to make a middle class in Mexico. They were going to prosper and we were going to prosper. So right along the border of Texas, so there's the Rio Grande, and you look over and there's Mexico. There's a number of industrial plants that have set up shop there. And one of them is Lexmark. They make printers. Well, if you're working at the print shop just on the other side of the border, you can see it from Texas, you're going to be making about $6 an hour, which comes out to about 39 cents, $6 a day, about 39 cents an hour. So you know what, Mike, maybe we should organize. Maybe we should get together and we should see if we could get a little bit of a higher wage, because that barely makes enough that I can get firewood to heat my home for me and my 2 kids. So let's try that. So we do, and we're fired. Now, Lexmark is the manufacturer of these products. So I thought I'd go on their website to see what they say. And this is what Lexmark says. As soon as I find it. So under the Global Citizen section of their website, this is what they say. Our people and partners. Lexmark strives to be the kind of company that communities welcome, the kind of company that people in these communities want to work for, because we are a company that cares. So, I know a lot of us are bleeding hearts, but that's not where I'm going with this either. NAFTA was set up so that Mexicans would prosper to the point that they'd buy our products. Well, that's not going to happen at 39 cents an hour. Manufacturing in Mexico has gone up. Between 1993 and 2011, real wages for Mexican manufacturing workers fell nearly 20%, while productivity rose nearly 80%. According to the Detroit Free Press in 2014, Mexico's share of vehicles manufactured in North America reached nearly 20%, double the level of 2004, and is forecast to increase to 25% by 2020. It's going in that direction. It's been going in that direction since 1993. There's $7 billion of new auto investment happening in Mexico. I can give somebody a pass for voting for NAFTA, but not anymore. Because we know what this is all about. This is about Bangladesh. This is about 39 cents an hour. And we're not even at China yet. And according to the Bank of America Merrill Lynch, in 2011, the hourly wages in China surpassed those of Mexico, and now they're 40% higher. The Economic Policy Institute in North says that NAFTA has taken to Mexico 900,000 jobs. That when China got into the WTO in 2001, we lost 3 million jobs. 80,000 of our factories have closed. We know that, right? You can walk probably in the 3-block radius of here and we'd see evidence of that. That's the difference between Charlie Dent and myself that is most significant. And that's the issue, that whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, people are waking up to. And that's how we win this next race. Air Products is opening a plant in China. A Chinese company now is coming here to make forks in Lehigh County. The Technology Center at Ben Franklin now has a Chinese company that they're helping out to increase their technology. And the Chinese company is now looking to buy out one of our major hotel chains. And this all happened very rapidly since 2001. On Sunday, March 19th, the Morning Call had an article, What's Making Us Feel So Sick? And it noted that in the recent survey, 1/3 of Lehigh Valley residents are very worried about paying their next mortgage or their next rent payment. 1/3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The National Council on Aging said that personal debt for senior citizens has never been higher. There has been a huge shift in wealth.